Have you ever tossed and turned all night, unable to fall asleep? Just because of something someone said during the day? A fleeting glance, a tiny action. And yet it keeps playing over and over again in your head like an endless movie? Have you ever been in this situation? There's something super important happening the next morning, but tonight, you just can't fall asleep. You toss and turn all night. No sleep. Then when morning comes, you wake up exhausted. Things don't go the way you hoped. And you beat yourself up thinking, why didn't I just go to bed early last night? Have you ever felt anxious about something that hasn't even happened yet, but deep down you're already afraid it's going to turn out badly? If any of this sounds familiar to you, then this video is for you. Because what you're dealing with is a very common, yet incredibly dangerous condition: overthinking. And the tricky thing about this condition is, on the outside, you still look totally fine. You're still working, still smiling, still going about your day. But inside your mind, it's like a bullet train, speeding nonstop from one thought to the next, with no final destination. It leaves you drained, tired, emotionally tangled, and you don't even understand why. And if you think you're the only one going through this, let me tell you, you're not. So many people deal with it. And me? I've been deep in it too. Like really deep. So today, I'm going to share with you what actually happens, why we fall into this cycle, and how we can begin to gently, slowly, and truly pull ourselves out of it. Ready? Let's begin. First, let's take a look at some of the most common signs of someone who struggles with overthinking. Number 1, have you ever had a moment when just one word, one glance, or one small action from someone kept you awake the whole night? You couldn't stop thinking about it? Number 2, whenever something really important is coming up the next morning, it's almost guaranteed you won't be able to sleep the night before. Then when the day comes and things don't go as planned, you spend the rest of the day blaming yourself. Why didn't I just go to sleep last night? Number 3, you read a ton of books, tons of research papers. Your head is full of ideas. But when it comes to work and life, things still feel stuck, like you're just spinning in circles and with nothing really changing. Sound familiar? Number 4, you might sleep for many hours, but the quality of your sleep is poor. You're constantly dreaming, tossing, and turning, and you wake up feeling tired and unrested. Number 5, you often take one small situation or action from someone, and your mind turns it into a whole 10-chapter novel titled, "Why did they do that?" Sound like you? Number 6, some of you have probably tried journaling, but after a few entries, you never went back to read them. Then you just stopped altogether. You might have also experimented with meditation, but the more you sat still, the faster your mind started running. Like it wouldn't shut off no matter how hard you tried. And eventually, some of you may have picked up a habit of drinking alcohol to help you sleep. Or maybe even started relying on sleeping pills. Does that sound familiar? So if anything I've just said hits close to home, if any of these signs describe you, leave a comment down below. I'd really love to know how many people watching this are going through something similar. And of course, if none of these symptoms apply to you, then honestly, you probably don't need to watch the rest of this video. You might actually belong to the group I call the underthinkers. And for those folks, the real challenge is pushing yourself to try harder, dig deeper. Sound fair? Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but lately, I've been dealing with signs number 4 and 5 myself. Because over the past few weeks, there's been some tension, some conflict between members of my extended family. And honestly, it's been really tough for me. I keep finding myself stuck in these endless thought loops. Why would they do that? Why did they say that at that moment? What if this happens next? What if they do that next time? And to tell you the truth, I've been having trouble sleeping for weeks. I've been tired, mentally drained, and just completely out of energy. So, for me personally, external pressure, business stress, work deadlines, none of that really gets to me. But when it comes to family stuff, man, that's when it really wears me down. Anyone else feel the same way? At this point, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are silently nodding, because here's the thing: overthinking isn't some strange, rare issue. It's actually pretty common. In fact, in some way or another, all of us tend to overthink now and then. Maybe just a little bit here and there, but it's there. Unless you're a monk who spent years in meditation or someone who's reached a level of deep spiritual awareness, it's nearly impossible to completely control and guide your thoughts all the time. So let's be clear: thinking a little too much, letting your mind wander, that's not weird. It's actually normal. But in our world today, this whole overthinking thing, it's becoming more and more widespread. It's starting earlier and hitting harder than ever before. This shift started about 100 years ago when we entered the industrial age. Life got faster, busier, and more demanding. And our minds, they had to speed up just to keep up. Over time, that led to stress, mental overload, and less control over our own thoughts. But honestly, that was just the beginning. Overthinking really exploded during the era of the information revolution. From the moment a child is born, they're immediately bombarded with a constant stream of vibrant images, sounds, and nonstop stimulation from all kinds of digital screens and devices. And the crown jewel of this age? It's what we now call fast-consuming media content, or to put it more simply, instant noodles for the brain. Quick-hit content, scrollable, addictive, disposable, designed to light up your brain, but burn out your focus. Now think about this. When you cook instant noodles, you still have to pour in hot water and wait about 3 minutes before you can eat, right? But with this kind of content we're talking about, it only takes a minute, sometimes even less, for your brain to fully consume it. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? This kind of content is crafted to hit all the senses at once. It combines music, melodies, images, visual effects, punchy words, fast text, all working together to create this full-on stimulation across every part of your brain in a very short amount of time. And then, every 1 to 2 minutes, all that stimulation gets swapped out for a new set of stimulation. New visuals, new sounds, new captions, new emotions. And your brain, it's firing off completely different neuron connections all over again. So even though you look totally still from the outside, just sitting there staring at your screen, scrolling with one finger, on the inside, your brain is running at the speed of a magnetic levitation train at full throttle. Over time, your brain starts getting trained into a state called hypersensitivity. That means even the smallest triggers, a smirk, a glance, a sigh, a casual comment, can set off a flood of thoughts. Racing, spiraling, relentless. That's why these days it's becoming harder and harder for us to stop our thoughts once they start. To pause. To just be. And imagine this. The part of your body that consumes the most energy, the brain, is constantly being pushed to run at max speed all day. Every day, without rest. No wonder we're exhausted. No wonder we feel drained, empty, and emotionally fried. No wonder we constantly crave snacks, especially sweet things like chocolate, soda, cookies, chips. And right around 3 or 4 p.m., if we don't get that sugar hit, boom, brain crash. Shutdown mode. Am I right? And the long-term price of pushing a machine to run at full speed, without pause, without control, is damage. Let's be clear here. Thinking itself is an incredible, powerful human ability. But overthinking? That's where it turns against us. Because overthinking doesn't channel our mental power toward things we can act on or influence. Instead, it gets stuck in loops around the stuff we can't control. Most commonly, it fixates on 3 things: regret over things that have already happened, fear or anxiety over things that haven't happened yet, and obsessing over what other people think, say, or do. And when we stay in that cycle long enough, overthinking starts to leave real, lasting damage, especially to our mental and emotional health. And the scary part, that damage builds quietly, and it only gets heavier over time. For example, symptoms like having trouble focusing, being overly sensitive, anxiety disorders, bipolar disorder, even depression, nervous breakdowns, and in some cases, schizophrenia. Now, sure, hearing these names might sound a little scary, but the truth is, they're usually the result of years and years of accumulation, which is why the number of people showing these kinds of symptoms is going to be much smaller. But hey, if you feel like it, you can also check in the comments below. Let us know if you've ever experienced some of these more serious symptoms so we can get a more complete picture together of just how serious the overthinking problem has become. And honestly, I believe that's exactly why Elon Musk once said that, for him, TikTok is in some ways destroying human civilization. Now, up until this point, I know it's been quite a bit of information already, so let's just pause for a moment. Can you feel it yet? There it is. Can you feel it start to run? Those thoughts inside your head, are they starting to move? Or maybe they've already taken off at full speed? Just in the last few seconds, if I'm guessing correctly, your brain has probably already kicked into motion. It started painting these dark scenarios, worst-case outcomes, possible losses. And you're probably starting to feel this low, anxious, uneasy feeling rising up inside, aren't you? Or maybe for some of you, in just the past few seconds, your brain started pulling up memories from the past. Moments when you felt tired, worn out, defeated, regrets over missed chances, days and months that feel like they just slipped by, wasted. And now you're sitting there feeling guilt, frustration, maybe even anger toward yourself or your life. Is that happening? Because that's what overthinking does. It runs, and it runs, and it keeps running. All it takes is one single trigger, just one, and your brain takes off like crazy from one thing to another, from one place to the next. Have you ever felt like that? Does it happen to you? A lot? So now I want you to do this. Just start observing your thoughts. Watch how they're running, even right now while you're watching this video. And if you've recognized your own thought patterns in what I just described, then right now, give yourself a little smile and snap your fingers. That's it. We've just taken the first small step toward healing our brain. The first step is this: becoming aware of and observing the flow of your own thoughts and emotions. This is the very first step, and also the most important one, in recultivating a sense of mindfulness within ourselves. Mindfulness isn't about stopping your thoughts. It's about clearly seeing what you're thinking about and whether those thoughts are actually necessary. It's kind of like stepping out of a fast-moving current, standing on the riverbank and looking back at it like, wait, whoa, what just swept me away like that? And that one moment, tiny as it may seem, is actually a massive turning point. Observe and notice. Observe and notice. Now, here's something important to keep in mind. While you're observing the stream of your thoughts and emotions, don't try to block the water. Don't try to stop the train of thought. You know, like, I'm so tired. I wish I could just stop thinking for a bit. Ugh. Or, why am I still thinking even after getting under the blanket? I haven't even fallen asleep yet. I've got so much to do tomorrow. What am I going to do? That desire to stop your thoughts is actually a trap, because First of all, it's incredibly difficult and exhausting, especially when you're already deep in overthinking. Second of all, that desire to stop thinking is itself another thought. Just one more stream in the flow of your mind. So how can we possibly stop overthinking by adding even more thoughts on top of it? Does that make sense? Have you noticed this? The moment you become aware of that flow, you've already stepped up onto the riverbank. You're no longer being swept away by the current, and that, right there, is the essence of it all. Now, of course, the ability to stay aware, to observe your own thought patterns. It's not something that comes easily. It takes consistent practice. It takes time, especially because sometimes that stream of thoughts, it's actually an underground current. It creeps in quietly and sweeps us away before we even realize it. Not to mention, it's not like we're always standing on the riverbank, right? Sometimes we actually want to step into that stream of thought. We need to dive in and use its power to help us reflect, to explore, to do deep thinking, research, creative work, or problem solving. So yeah, letting yourself flow with your thoughts and using their energy, that's super important too. As long as when you want to step out of the current, you can. That's it. That's the key. And the ability to become aware, to observe the flow of your thinking. That's the skill that lets you step out onto the riverbank. Got it? Now, there are tons of different ways to train and develop mindfulness. This skill of becoming aware and observing your thoughts. But in the context of this video, I just want to share 2 tools with you. These are tools I've personally used myself, and I've found them to be really practical and easy to apply, especially in this early stage of the journey. All right, ready? Let's go. Number 1, write your thoughts down. Simple, right? One of the most straightforward ways to observe your thoughts is to get them down on paper. The moment you write them out, boom, you see them right away. Now I know, as I'm saying this, someone out there watching is probably thinking, hey bro, I've already tried that method. You mean like journaling, right? Didn't work for me, man. And I get it. The reason it didn't work for a lot of people is this. Most of the time when there's no clear method or structure, people treat journaling like an emotional venting tool. You write just to not yell at someone, not punch someone, just to blow off steam and release frustration. And then what happens? We finish writing and never go back to read it again. Am I right? Like, tell me I'm wrong. So if we write but never read it, what's the point of writing in the first place? It ends up being kind of pointless. That's why it doesn't work for so many people. So listen, when you write, don't just let it all come pouring out like a flood. Don't just brain dump everything in one giant emotional wave. Here's how to write in a better way. Write a little bit. Then pause. Take a breath. Skim through what you just wrote. That's the moment. Right there. That's when you start to observe your thoughts, your emotions, your inner struggles, your true desires. Then you keep writing. So the trick here is this. Use a notebook or a piece of paper that's just the right size. Not too big. Why? Because once you finish a page, you have to stop. Flip to the next one to continue. And it's that tiny pause, that small break, that moment where you can breathe and read back what you just wrote. Now, if you're writing on your phone or on a laptop, you usually don't get that natural pause. You just keep typing and typing and typing. No break, no space to actually look back and reflect on your thoughts and feelings, all right? Of course, I get it. We can't carry a notebook with us everywhere, and we definitely can't sit down and write out all our thoughts constantly throughout the day. So here's what you can do. Just practice this technique once or twice a day. Write it down and take a moment to observe all the thoughts that have been passing through your mind or are still running through your mind throughout the day. This practice, if you keep doing it for a while, will help you recognize your thoughts and emotions more clearly. And eventually, over time, those same patterns of thought and emotion will have a much harder time dragging you around. Because now you've recognized them. In fact, after writing everything down and becoming aware of your thoughts, your worries, your inner desires, you can even take it one step further and start filtering those thoughts using just 3 simple questions. First, is this really something that has to do with me? Second, if it doesn't, then why am I so worried? Why do I feel so sad about it? Third, is there anything I can actually do to change the outcome? And if I can't change it, then why am I still spending so much energy thinking about it? Overthinking isn't something you can overcome just by watching a few videos or reading a couple of books, but it is something you can learn to gradually rise above, bit by bit, slowly, with practice. And sometimes all it takes is for you to sit down, take a deep breath, and gently tell yourself, I'm okay, I'm doing my best. That alone can bring you a little more peace. We don't need to be strong all the time. We just need to be brave. Brave enough to face ourselves, even in the moments when we feel the weakest. So if today you're still caught up in that loop of overthinking, still looking for answers and not finding them, that's okay. Sometimes simply choosing to keep going is the answer. Thank you for staying here with me until the very end. If this episode made you feel a little lighter, a little more understood, or even just a little less alone, then that already means so much to me. I'll see you in the next episode. And before we go, here's one last thing I want to leave you with. Don't worry too much. Everything will find its way.